Okay, I think that's pretty clear. So just to be clear, we are recording. So if you're uncomfortable with that, then shield your face and disguise your voice when you ask a question. No one will know it's you. But we are going to post this. So just to be clear. On the question of publishing, so Debbie had just asked a question before we started recording about publishing. Yeah, we do want to publish the sites, even if they're not exactly what you want them to look like, because that's how we can go through them. Otherwise, they're literally not available. So yeah. Now, with that said, I know we have a few more people that have joined since I asked the question about who was having trouble logging into their site. The other thing is, I can't, if your site is unpublished, then I can't tell if you're having trouble logging in or you just don't want to publish your site. So please publish your sites, because then I'll know that if it's unpublished, then there must be an issue that you're having trouble with. So let me start with the first question. Who cannot log into their WordPress site? Who cannot get into their dashboard in the first place? You can unmute yourself if you... So the silence means that nobody's having trouble with their logins and passwords.
I guess so.
Okay, well then what that means is, since several people here have unpublished sites, it means that you just simply have chosen not to publish them. Is that correct?
I published.
I know some of you have, and some of you haven't.
I just did.
Oh, good. All right, who said that?
Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. Oh, now I can see your face more.
Yeah.
Did you put a light on your face?
Yeah, I turned more towards the window.
All right. Let me put the check mark there, because I'm trying to see who still needs to publish. Yeah, I have found.
I think I just published mine too.
Oh, who said that?
Spring.
Hi, Spring.
San Francisco.
Oh, yes, you're by the bay. All right. Spring. Okay. All right. So some of you were here in the last session and some of you weren't. I want to make sure that people know how to do with the basics, and then we'll move on to some other stuff. The idea of, we talked before about the idea of how themes work, of trying different themes out, the difference between what WordPress calls a post and a page. We're going to get more into that today. Basics on putting images in your media library and on the web page, and some other stuff like that. The main thing you want to, I think right now, be concerned with is understanding how to change themes, understanding the difference between the page and the post. Let me talk about that for a second. So, because this is constantly a source of questions in WordPress, even all the time. WordPress distinguishes between pages and posts, and everything is actually a web page, but what WordPress calls a page is a static page, which is not something that users can comment on. And a post is a blog post page where you can allow users to post comments. That's the essential difference. There are some differences in the way you can organize blog posts, but WordPress does make that distinction, and that's generally confusing to people who haven't come across it before. So in your dashboard, you should be able to see that you can create and edit both pages and posts, and that they're in different sections of your dashboard. Under the appearance section of your dashboard, themes is one of the most important things you want to get to there, but there are other things we'll look at. Logistically, I'm trying to, my goal is to do 3 of these a week, so I set some times, I sent them out to you. I wasn't sure how many people will be able to make a Friday afternoon, but apparently there are a healthy number of people here, so I think we'll keep that. I think the Monday and Wednesday, many people can make. It's really hard, everybody's schedule's really different, so I just put them at different times, thinking that, you know, some of you will make some of them, they'll all be recorded and posted, so you know, don't worry if you can't make some or all of them. But obviously for you guys, this Friday afternoon time actually worked a little bit. You're all kind of awake. Yeah, maybe. All right. This is my third Zoom today, so I'm already fried, and I have one after this. So I just want personal note, I'm a little tired of Zoom already. Some of you may find it, new and novel and cool. I did for a while. My first 10 or 20 Zoom meetings were really fun. They're getting a little weird because it's just a weird modality to live in for so many hours a day. I was literally in 3 Zoom meetings at once yesterday, which was new for me because I'd done 2 at once. Laptop, desktop, but I was laptop, desktop, and tablet yesterday because that's how crazy things have been in my world. So anyway, that said, how are you guys doing with the Zoom thing? This is all feeling a little more comfortable to you, maybe?
Okay.
It's sort of strange working the CTC in Zoom where you're actually trying to problem solve for somebody else and kind of look over somebody else's shoulder. That makes it really interesting.
Yeah, well, the share screen feature is actually
Yeah, it works pretty well.
Yeah, it works pretty well, and we'll probably use that today. Okay, so everybody can log in. I'm going to go to a dashboard, so I'm going to share a screen here. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So just a couple of background items. First of all, the YouTube channel I set up for my classes is where I'm posting the videos for all my classes, including DM56. So the link I gave you is to my playlists. I just make each class into a playlist because sometimes there are 1 or 2 or 3 segments for a class, depending if it's 1 or 2 or 3 hour class. We're going to try to do shorter classes, and some of the other classes I'm doing 3-hour classes with an hour break. It's a lot. But I'm going to try this one a little differently, and we're not going to go a long time today. Although on the Mondays and Wednesdays, we'll probably go a bit longer than an hour, I'm assuming, depending on how questions work. So this URL you have, this is where the videos are. Let me go to, so if you haven't already, the student sites page I've updated with links to all of your sites. So this is an easy way for you to get to your own site to log in instead of having to type designcruise.com/ your first name / WP-admin if you're going to administrate it. So this will take you right to your site. If you go, let's see, Debbie, your site's published, right? Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to your site. So,
Oh, wow.
It's boring.
you changed something. Okay. So if you're going to go to administrate it, when you go to your site, you probably should already know this, but if you type WP admin, that should take you to your login screen. And that would be Debbie's login screen. So by adding the WP-admin after the slash, that is generally one way to get to your login screen. WordPress generally also works just if you type login. Let me see if it works on these installations. It should, yeah. Okay, so that might be shorter to type than WP-admin. Any questions on that? It's hard for me. I'm going to periodically stop and ask for questions because it's hard for me when I'm sharing my screen to see the expressions on your faces, like if you're puzzled or getting it. It's a different modality here. All right. So here I'm in a demo account dashboard that I set up just for me so we can demo things. And this, I think this is the /John site. Let me just, no, I don't have a link to that for you guys. But what we've done before is we looked at some things under posts and under pages and under appearance and under plugins. We've talked about themes under appearance and posts and pages. Now, I had asked you to create or edit if you already had a few pages and posts with your theme. and I asked you to add some images, and of course that's under the media library. Media library, I'm not even sure if I have images in this account. Did I put any in here yet? I did not. Okay. And going back to dashboard is always a good starting point because it's easy to get lost in where you are in the WordPress world here. So you can always go back to dashboard easily. Now, if you go to your site, like, oh, this is called demo. Okay, visit site or demo. If I try to visit the site, oh, I didn't realize I had published it. Okay, so that is the basic WordPress theme. That's the default. And how many of you are pretty comfortable now changing theme? Is there anybody who's having any trouble? Let's do this one by one. Is there anybody that needs any help changing themes? And you can unmute yourself if you need to say anything. Is there anybody that's having trouble
No.
adding images to your media library? Is there anybody having trouble putting an image on a page from your media library?
I haven't done that yet.
Who said that?
Me, Lakshman.
Lakshman, okay. Anybody else having trouble with that? Or you're not having trouble, you just haven't done it yet. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't done that.
Can you go over image sizing and adjusting them for web use?
Yeah, well, web use is one thing. WordPress use is another question, actually. WordPress will, let's see. WordPress makes it very easy just to size the image any way you want on your page. So resizing has a few meanings in this business. One is resizing an image so that it displays at a certain size. Another meaning of the word resizing is actually resizing the inherent image, the inherent size, the number of pixels of the image itself. Along with image resizing, there's the concept of image optimization, which is making the file size as small as possible so that you're not wasting the user's bandwidth and your page won't load slowly. So resizing has a lot of context.
I guess I mean optimization then.
So optimization, okay, so there are plugins that will allow you to do all kinds of image manipulation and some optimization. So that's number one. Number two, if you're familiar with a graphics program such as Photoshop, I generally prefer to work in Photoshop and do my image optimizations before even thinking about WordPress. Are you someone who works with Photoshop?
I do, yeah.
So very briefly in Photoshop, let me, I don't have it launched here. I can spend a couple minutes on this in Photoshop. What time is it? Yeah, okay, we can do this. I do want to get to permissions and stuff today, some new stuff, but let me go over this. Image optimization essentially means making the file size as small as possible without losing too much quality. If you're used to the print world, quality has a different meaning than it does in web and WordPress. Quality in print is really completely 100% visual. Does it look good? That's how you define a quality image in WordPress, in print. Does it look good? On the web, the visual nature of the image is an important aspect of quality, but I would argue equally important and perhaps a tad even more important is download speed. In other words, is the image optimized for the file size to be as small as possible? And there's always a trade-off between some quality loss and a gain in the efficiency of the download speed and the bandwidth use. And given that more and more people are looking at web pages on phones, the bandwidth use issue is becoming more and more important because people have data plans. They don't want to waste bandwidth. You don't want to waste their bandwidth. You want to be a site that cares about your viewers and cares about their bandwidth use. So is my Photoshop launched yet? I'm still waiting here. My computer is not the fastest speed demon on the block here, especially given all the stuff I have open. So I'll just throw an image in Photoshop and show you a few basics.
John, I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question about plugins because I could read those descriptions. I have no idea what they're talking about. Like, it's Greek, total Greek to me. Like, it doesn't say anything about what they do. It's just an ad. So I don't know how we define what they actually do, the plugins. And then I could only find the ones they were displaying. I couldn't go in and find any other plugins.
Okay. Those are a couple of really good questions.
Yeah.
Let me just do this Photoshop thing first,
Okay.
and then we'll move over to plugins. Thank you. That's a really good question. I've still got the spinning pizza wheel of death on my Photoshop. Come on. I have two windows here, so all right. So I just need to grab an image, and I have lots of images. Sorry, I didn't have an image queued up and ready. And I don't have any on my desktop, so I'll have to go find some. In Photoshop, now this is okay. Photoshop, Adobe has they've changed the menuing on things over the last few versions. As you see here, as you may not see here, I'm running CS6 on this system, and so between CS6 and the current Creative Cloud version, they've made some menu changes, but the way it works is still essentially exactly the same. It's just to define these things as different under menus. So oh, I need an image to show you that. So let me grab an image. No idea what this image is. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully this is a clean image. It's a photo from Burning Man, but I think it'll be okay. So I'll just take this image and pop it in here. To be honest with you, I don't know what this image is yet. But it's taking a long load. Come on. This is an image from a digital camera, so it's going to be several megabytes big, which is, of course, way too big. One of the questions people always ask is how big is too big? There's no silver bullet. It's just you want to make the file size as small as you can, given how large the image is in pixel size. So usually that means reducing color level. And this image, oh, here you go. It's outside of Gerlach somewhere in Nevada. Okay, so right off the bat, this image is a couple of megabytes, and also its image size is going to be really large. So its image size is 3,648 pixels wide. Now, that's probably a lot larger than you're going to use the file size, use the image. So when you're thinking about images, you want the first off is like, well, about how large is my image going to display on a page, right? And you think in terms of pixels. Every screen resolution is slightly different, but just ballpark something at like 100 or 110 pixels per inch. You know, you want the image to look 3 or 4 inches wide on your page, then approximately whatever. So I'm just going to make this. I'm going to make this 300 pixels wide, or maybe 350, and that's actually not the real size of it visually. If I go to view and I look at actual pixels, then okay, maybe that's about the size I want on my page. So generally speaking, a lot of times when you're preparing images for the web, you're not exactly 100% sure how big the image is going to display or how large you want it. So you ballpark it, and you can let the browser play with it a little bit within certain tolerances. But you don't want to start with something way big or way small, because you will not, that's just not efficient. So if that's about the size that I'm going to use it, I would first, under my image menu, I would say image size, and I would set that dimension. Now, oh, by the way, and this is something I can't stress enough, when you're in this image size window in a program like Photoshop, you see this resolution, and we don't really care about that number. It's worth absolute nothingness to us. This is only for print. In the old days, they would say save an image at 72 DPI. That is like one of the most ridiculous web myths of all time. Hopefully no one is still telling you to save images at 72 DPI for the web. This resolution setting is metadata for the image. Whatever this number is doesn't change the actual number of pixels in the image, and it doesn't change the image file size. It's just an instruction to a printer as to how to print an image when it's sent to a printer. It does not change the quality level of the image on the web whatsoever. We don't really care about this number for the web. You can set it to 72 if it makes you feel good. You could set it to 3000 if it makes you feel good. Doesn't really matter for our purposes, so don't worry about that. What matters is the width and height in pixels. That's really what matters right here, okay? So I just want to make sure we're all clear on that. So the name of the game in image optimization is always colors. Once you reduce the pixels down to about the size you're going to use it, all the optimization is about color. And so in this version of Photoshop, there's a Save for Web, and it's under the File menu. In newer versions of Photoshop, under the File menu, it'll have something like Export or Export for Web, and then it might say Legacy. And then under Legacy, it might say Save for Web. So there's going to be different places you get to this Save for Web screen. But in this one, it's directly under the File menu. But the Save for Web screen, this is the key. And it always gives you the possibility of showing you the original and then whatever you're working with to change it. You could, I'm viewing this at 2 up, I could view 4 up or whatever. 2 up is good enough, so on the left is the original, on the right is the changes I'm going to make will be reflected on the right. Now it's right off the bat, we started out by showing me what it would look like as a GIF. It's a photo, so I know I want to make it a JPEG, no question. Most of your images are going to be photos, I assume, and most of them are going to be JPEGs. Virtually all your photos should be saved as JPEGs. So you'll note that when it's JPEG, it's very different than GIF. If it's GIF or PNG, then I get this color table where I can actually reduce, and I can actually see every distinct color. But under JPEG, you really don't have any pixel perfect control of color. You just have this general quality level. And so this slider bar can go from 0 to 100. It's the same as typing the number in here. And shortcuts to some of the numbers are here. So when I say medium, this number changes to 30. When I say high, it changes to 60 and so forth. All we really care about is that number. And again, we can do it as a slider bar, or we can type in a number. But if you look closely, you may not see much difference between the left and the right. But if I take this number way down, I'll go all the way down to 0. And now you may see some loss in quality here. So this is really a visual thing. You basically just figure out what's acceptable to you. Generally speaking, preparing images for the web, you're going to be in this low to medium setting. Again, it's more important that the download speed is as fast as possible than that the image is as crisp as you can make it. And, you know, this is a subjective, you're going to look at this with your eye and say, can I live with that? If so, try to go smaller until you can't. But you can see that this will be, you know, relatively small size, 7 point something K. That's nice and really small. That's what we want. And then I would just save it. And when I save it, I will have a much smaller image file size. And I'll just call this Z. I'll put it on my desktop. And now I've got an optimized image. So that's the basics of what you would do in Photoshop. That answer your question? I can't remember who asked the question. I'm not even sure I can see who asked the question.
I did. Vicky did. Thank you. Yeah, that answered.
Is that good? Okay. So now plugins. And somebody else asked the question on plugins. Was it Rebecca, Robin, somebody? Robin. Ah, I see. Okay. So let me move Photoshop out of the way. Okay, plugins. Boy, the subject of plugins is rich, and we'll be talking about plugins the whole time, the whole semester, the whole term. So there are lots of ways to find plugins. You don't have to be. Let me break it down. So you had several questions. How do you figure out what plugins do? How do you find them? They're your two basic questions. Reading the descriptions wasn't very helpful, I think you said.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like I was looking for something to have a gallery, kind of gallery setup.
Oh yeah, there's lots of those.
Yeah, but I couldn't, they weren't on the board, and their descriptions were not good enough for me to understand what they were really talking
Okay.
about. And then they wanted to charge me for them. So everything.
Oh
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah, of course.
And they
Okay,
wanted
so
to charge. So how do we avoid that?
okay, so let's break this down. Okay, so how you avoid the paying for them is don't pay for them. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Now, that said, there are, and if you're talking about image gallery plugins, oh my gosh, there are hundreds of them. And there are lots and lots of free ones, and there are lots of premium ones. Premium meaning you pay for them. Now, if you're, it's not out of the ordinary to spend a few bucks on a good plugin. So generally speaking, I usually start with a free plugin, see if it does what I want, and if I like it, I might just use that. The free version might have a premium upgrade, and I might look into that. But generally, a lot of these things have modest costs. I don't like the subscription services where you have to pay a monthly or annual fee. I generally try to avoid those kinds of themes and plugins. I mean, you know, if it's something I'm leaning on heavily and I'm using a lot, and maybe I'm using it in multiple websites that I'm doing, I might find it worthwhile to pay for the premium version, which usually does mean you get their support, and so that can be that can be really helpful depending on how complex the plugin is. But for galleries, there are plenty of free ones that you could start by poking around with. So if you go to, I'm in my dashboard, and I could go to Add New under, oops, not users, plugins, Add New. Now, oh, not users, plugins, Add New. We're gonna get to that in a minute. Hello,
I thought this was a
plugin.
fun
My mouse doesn't want to do this. I'm sorry, huh? What?
It's a fun exercise because I just tried a couple of plugins, and then I think Katerina tried a different one, and you could actually see what they look like. So, you know, it was kind of research for going forward in the future.
Yeah. So so let me just, here's one place to start. I'm in my dashboard, so I'm going to look at these recommended plugins from WordPress. I put in gallery, right? And here's my search results, and there's featured, popular, recommended, favorites, premium, blah, blah, blah. But already I see that I got 3,000 possible plugins just by plugging in the word gallery. And that is overwhelming. And that just gives you an idea of how many are out there. And this is just through this interface through WordPress itself. Now you can search for things on the web, and you can find and download plugins outside of this interface and then upload them into WordPress. I'm just starting here because I know gallery is overwhelming and there's so many, and some of the better ones are generally looked at here. I mean, like the ones that you're going to see through this WordPress interface are generally going to be the more popular ones anyway. And since I have 3,000 to choose from, I'm probably not going to go much further to start looking at them. So that's my search results. Now, if I go to featured or popular or recommended, that'll lower the number here. So if I said featured, I'm not going to get 3,000. And if I say popular, I'm not even sure how many I'll get under popular, but
the featured aren't, they aren't just.
oh, I didn't, I'm sorry, I lost gallery. Let me do this again.
Yeah.
Let me get back to my search results. I've got, let's see, I've actually, I've actually kind of used, I think I've experienced with a couple of these. Let's backtrack a little. what specifically did you want to do with your image gallery? Because that can make a difference. Let me explain some of your options. Some of your options are, do you just want to display a bunch of images? Let's say you're selling products. Maybe you want to have images of them. Maybe you do pottery and you want to have images of your work. Let's say you're a photographer, you have images of your photos. Let's say you're a designer, you have images of your flyers that you produced for design, graphic layout work, whatever. So that's the first thing, is what are you using it for? Then do you want perhaps to have more flexibility than just displaying a bunch of images on a page, perhaps in a grid or other format, but do you want the ability to have it also be a slideshow? Many galleries are gallery/slideshow plugins, and a slideshow would give the user the opportunity to either click through very easily, or you can have an automated slideshow, or both. And slideshows are pretty popular, and they really are an easy way to jazz up a page or a website.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Will you be able to find a gallery, let's say, that can do a slideshow, but you click on one of the pictures in the slideshow and it goes to a different link? You can link it to a different page?
Well, that would depend on the plugin you chose, and if it had that functionality. So that. I went after him when I had like 30 health. I'm sorry, somebody, I couldn't tell if that's a question or somebody needs to mute themselves. But you guys can mute yourselves if there's noise going on there. So you can, your question was, can you click on the image and then go to another page from your gallery? Generally, if the plugin allows you to do that, yeah. And if it doesn't, then you'd have to either find another plugin or you'd have to play with the code. Frequently, what the gallery would do is be combined with a slideshow and maybe what's called a lightbox slideshow, where you click on an image and then it opens that image up to the fore and then starts a slideshow. That's usually the way they work. They don't usually go to other pages. So you may have a more specific gallery that you're looking for. And if there's not a plugin that does exactly what you want, you could actually just lay out a page with a bunch of images on it that are links to other pages. If you're not talking about too many images, that wouldn't be too difficult. But if you're talking about, you know, dozens or hundreds of images, then you probably want to have a more automated plugin that would actually do that for you. So that you'd have to do a little more research on it. I'm not familiar with any plugin that would work exactly that way, but I bet there are lots of them that would, and you'd have to start playing with them. Which gets to the next part of the question, was like, how can you tell what they really do? And the answer is, you can read the descriptions. Like if I read more details here on this one, some of the descriptions are going to tell you good information and some aren't going to really answer your questions. So one of the nice things is it's like this one, you know, gives you a list of features, what you get when you update to the Pro version. They always like to do that. But the best thing to do is just play, you know, read through some and play with some and try them. And also, you know, Google searches can be remarkably good if you ask very specific questions in your Google search, like image gallery or WordPress gallery plugin that links to pages, or what, you know, I mean, like, be very specific in your searching, because that will really help you find a plugin that might be more appropriate for you.
John,
But
I have a question.
yeah.
Can you look at someone's code and find their plugin that way? So if you're visiting someone's site and go, that's what I want, is there a place where you can look at the code and find the plugin?
Generally, yes. Generally,
Wow.
because plugins and themes, they want to advertise themselves. So they will usually find a way to insert something into the page or the page code that says, and especially if it's a free one, sometimes the free ones will actually have a link at the bottom of the page in small type that says, this gallery, a result of the cool plugin, you know, and it's a link to their site. But you kind of look at the code, and sometimes in the comments of the code, and themes, especially WordPress themes as well as plugins, you can see what's being used on that particular page. So that varies, but generally you can figure it out. And we can look at more specific. If you got a specific page, I could bring up the code and actually see if I could find it. So I'm just going to install this one just for the hell of it, and see where it says installing. And when it's done, I'm going to activate it. And there's an activate button that shows up after it's installed, just to kind of get a handle on this. Now, so we can use some examples here. Okay, so now this is my plugins page. I'm on my dashboard. I see it says plugins, and which one did I just activate? Modula. And you see if it says deactivate, then you know that it's activated. Now, here, since I don't know too much about this plugin, add galleries, grids, and more in a few clicks. If I view details here, it gets back to that description. So you can always look at that. Sometimes the plugins will come with some pretty detailed instructions. And so sometimes they won't. But this one's got nice ratings. So it seems like it's a fairly solid one. Lightbox styles. For those of you, when you get into galleries, Lightbox is a very popular thing. And Lightbox, again, is where you click on an image and it kind of opens up in the fore and sometimes starts a slideshow. And the latest version's installed. Here I've got lots of things I can read about this. Installation, we just installed it. But that doesn't tell me much more than I already know. The FAQ, I don't know what's in this FAQ. This has support for the Pro license version. Yeah, who said that?
Debbie, I noticed that it says this plugin has not been tested with your current version of WordPress. Is that safe to use?
Probably. Probably. Okay. And so a plugin that's this popular, where it says active installation 70,000 plus, probably doesn't have too many problems with most themes.
Okay.
And because I haven't really chosen, I think I'm on a generic theme right now. Because I haven't chosen some pretty specific theme, I'm on a fairly generic WordPress theme, I don't think I'd have any problems. You can have problems with plugins and themes. And sometimes there's a conflict because a theme will include its own gallery. Sometimes many themes come with plugins and will come with a gallery plugin, or it will be built in. Gallery plugins are some of the most common. So you may already have, depending on your theme, you may already have a gallery type plugin that works. But I wouldn't worry about it not being tested if it says that. I would try it. And if it doesn't work, you're gonna find out right away. It will not work. So
okay.
It says the layout doesn't look correct. So maybe when I look at that further, it may be that maybe there is a problem. Oh no, this is just a fact. I'm sorry, it's not saying it doesn't look correct in mine. Okay, never mind, this is just a fact. Screenshots is actually sometimes a really handy way to kind of see what a plugin does. Reviews, whatever. Okay, most times the reviews are about the pro version, the premium version. So
the screenshots are kind of handy.
Yeah,
it's a visual thing.
Yeah, I just closed it. Let me go back to the screenshot.
Under the details.
Screenshots, and I actually like to look at screenshots, especially when I'm looking at theme stuff. But
so they have different things there. That say gallery shot, a brick shot. I don't quite get, but those are different things. You know, like it says when you went to screenshot initially, it had a bunch of different words. One looks like a brick and mortar or something, and the other said.
Let me go back to screenshot. Let's see. I can hardly read this type, to be honest with you. It's really small.
Gallery. Yeah. Okay.
I can barely read this with the way my screen is here.
Well, when
Yeah.
it first came up on Medulla under screenshots, it had, you can do this, 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 and it had all these descriptions, but I wasn't sure what that was actually meaning. Like brick and gallery view with resize image and custom grid. Do you just have to play with them to find out?
Yeah, I don't know specifically what, yeah, I mean, if you have a specific question, the best thing to do is to play with it. Sometimes it's not entirely clear what to do after you install it. So usually they'll give you some instructions on what to do after you install it. And so this is just all purely on installation though. Let's just see what it says under description again.
Lightbox gallery, there it is up there. Lightbox gallery, masonry grids, custom grids. That's what I'm trying to understand what those terms mean.
What do they mean by masonry grid? Well, custom grid could be any.
Masonry, it's all different sizes.
Oh, is that what they're saying?
Yeah, you know, I installed a couple and I put what I did on the site so that people could know. But and some of the ones you had to pay for were the masonry ones, because otherwise they all make them all squares or all horizontal rectangles. And if your images are horizontals and verticals, the masonry would maybe work out better as your thumbnails.
I'm sorry, Anne, you said you put some of these on your.
Yeah. So I used 2 different ones.
Okay.
And
So this is Anne's site. She said she put some examples up. So let's take a quick look. All right.
so,
Where do you have those under?
Gallery 1 and Gallery 2.
You all can see this, right?
So the issue I had with this one, it's loading really slowly, is that these
Now wait a second. You see where it's loading slowly? Do you know why?
probably the size of the images.
The size of the images have not been through the process that I just outlined earlier.
I
No,
optimized
seriously,
them.
that's why.
I optimized them, but I optimized them at high.
Okay. Well, you know, I would recommend. Are they JPEGs?
Yes, I can go back and optimize them at lower, a lot lower.
I would recommend going as low as you can in the JPEG because you can get a lot of compression out of JPEG. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So these are, as you can see, vertical images. When I did it with horizontal images, it was fine, but click on one of them, you'll see what the problem is. So
looks fine to me.
No, it's chopped top and bottom.
Oh.
So I've lost the top and bottom of my image. So if you go into the next gallery, it has a different issue.
So then this plugin didn't really do exactly what you wanted.
No, because it chopped my image. The thumbnails look great, but the images, when you open them up, are chopped. So
how about this gallery?
The thumbnails don't look so great, but the whole image is there. But they put that little stupid box at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. This one here.
Yeah, and that does an automatic slideshow. So if you wanted the auto slideshow and you were doing different images, you might, so, you know, that's the auto. You can turn that off by just clicking the far button and it turns it off.
Right.
And then you can use the manual on the sides. So it's pretty easy for the user.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice one.
I hated the thing at the bottom, but it has my whole image. But the thumbnail is truncated. But this does have a pay version that you could do the mosaic.
And what is this plugin?
It's on the page. So if you read it, it says at the bottom. It's called Photo Gallery.
Oh, Photo Gallery.
And you know, it was really easy to use. Their README on how to do it was really easy to understand and do. You could just follow it step by step.
Yeah, I used it too. I used it also, and Annie explained it to me, and then this morning I went back to it and I did a lot of stuff in it, and it was easy.
It's really easy, and the explanation of how to use it was really easy, which is always important. The other gallery was a lot more complicated, and it didn't have a very good README.
Mm-hmm. And so
so it'll tell you what the other one is on the first gallery.
Oh, sorry, let me get back.
It has the name of it.
But if this is the one that's not doing what you want in terms of cutting off your part of your image, then I would say this is probably not one that you would recommend, correct?
No, and it was a lot more complicated. Now, if you go up and look at in photograms, I use the same thing, and it doesn't have the same problem because I'm not using tall vertical images. So if you weren't using tall vertical images.
You mean this one here? Oh, photograms here.
Yeah, so, you know, this is just almost square images. And so if you are using images like this, it would be perfectly okay with you because it doesn't truncate them. So when you open them up.
So in other words, your aspect ratio doesn't work for some images. I mean, it doesn't work with the aspect ratio of some images. And this has a different interface.
Yeah, so if you had this, and I like that interface. I think that interface is pretty user-friendly.
Very easy, yeah.
Yeah. It was more complicated in the fact that I had to play around to figure out what in the world they were talking about. They made you paste a code into your website.
Oh, I hate those.
So on this page, you actually had to paste a code in. And it's like, well, where do I paste that code? And as a programmer, I didn't really just think about putting in a paragraph, which is what they wanted you to do. And for me, it was confusing. If I hadn't have overthought it, it wouldn't have been so confusing. Because it was a code, I wanted to put it somewhere in code. The other one, you just opened the little paragraph box and the gallery showed up and you just ran it. And it was, like I said, the README was really simple.
And there's a lot to be said for simple.
Yeah. So, but I did put the name on both of them so that if somebody read it, they could figure out why I liked one better than the other and also what the names were.
Okay, so if I view the source here, just to see, I'm gonna maybe, let's see here. Let's take a quick look through some of this.
There's something I hate. Does it have the plugin names?
Well, that's what I'm just doing a quick look through the whole thing.
Ooh, I saw some.
I'm looking here.
Oh, the code is minified.
Pardon?
Never mind.
If you went on the page and used the web developer tool, I think it might show up on that page.
Well, this is the page. This is the web.
No, you're on the home page right now.
Oh, wait.
I see that red responsive something.
So you're on my home page.
Oh, sorry, gallery. Sorry, I thought I was on the gallery page. Let me look again.
So I think if you look here, it may tell you. And I just used the developer tool, which took me into use.
Can I ask whoever has the doggy to mute themselves?
I'm sorry, that's me.
Oh, okay, that's all right. Okay, well then don't mute yourself, otherwise we won't be able to talk.
Your dog thinks you're talking to
right.
her.
The postman just came.
Oh.
It was the postman, and he was.
Well, the dog was remarkably mellow. If that was a mailman, or
yeah, it was a mailman. It was a mailman response. Because the mailman was in the front yard.
Well, puts a lot of CSS on the page.
Yeah.
Weblizer 94. That's interesting. That could be a clue.
But the name of it's Photo Gallery. Of the ones, if you went back to your plugin page, it was the first one in the right-hand column. It was just simply called Photo Gallery.
Right. I'm just looking to see if it throws anything in the code that tells you more information about, if somebody was trying to figure it out.
On Gallery 2, it said Photography by Catch Theme. Is that what you were referring
to? That was one of them, and the other one was called Photo Gallery.
Okay.
Yeah, let me
But Photo Gallery was the one you didn't like, right?
So Photo Gallery is the easy one.
So, oops. Oh, I didn't mean to click on that. I didn't mean to click on that. Wait, let me go back here. So, see where it has like Photo Gallery, Photo-Gallery plugins?
Yeah, that's the plugin.
Yeah, it's using a JavaScript that puts its name in the directory. So so that's a kind of a dead giveaway. It's called Photo-Gallery. Because that's the directory it's in plugins. So because it has those links to the JavaScripts, that's easy to see. But sometimes you can't.
if you paid for it, you could buy the masonry one. And because I like the simplicity of it and the way it worked, I think, you know, if I couldn't find something better, I might, and if the payment was a one-time thing, I would be tempted to do the payment for and have the masonry where it would have
Right.
thumbnails being the right shapes,
Okay,
horizontal
cool.
and verticals.
Nice. All right. Let me close that.
Do they
Okay.
have
Thank
room for descriptors underneath them? So like if I wanted to know the price or the name or
you mean like here under these?
yeah.
All the galleries are going to be different, and some will give you captions. I'm sorry, Anne, you're going to say something?
It does allow you to do it. I didn't do it. I think it may have, if you click on it, it may tell you the description I put in was how the work was done.
Oh.
There's the name, the caption, and maybe I didn't. It was just how that these were laser cut monoprints.
Cool.
Nice.
Can I ask another question?
Sure. Shoot.
So this is all lovely, but I don't even know how to create a gallery from a plugin. So maybe when you're done helping her, that to me is more fundamental. Like I don't even know how to make that.
All right. Let's let's use maybe one of these as an example. Hey, Anne.
Yes.
How about if we go into your installation and you can answer that question as to how this particular plugin worked?
So do you want me to share my screen?
I'm going to stop sharing my screen and allow you to share your screen.
Okay, so I'll share my screen.
And if you can go into the your dashboard and you can show us how that particular or either of the plugins works. They're all a little bit different and similar. So
Katerina and I both played around with both of them to work with them because she used a different one first of all, and then she went in and loaded this one. And so let me just there I go. Yep. Oh, there we go. Okay, so let me go in, and what it did was it put it on the side here. Once I actually activated it, it appears over here. And so I'm going to add a new gallery.
by the way, do you guys see that when you install some plugins, it will put in a menu item?
So when I activated it, this is the one gallery and this is the other one up here.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you can see their menu things are different. This one has all galleries and then add a new gallery. So add images, gallery groups, so that the way they present things in the menu is kind of different from gallery to gallery. And we're working with Katerina. I mean, hers was different too. So all these plugins are different depending on your plugin. So I would go, if I wanted to add a new one, add gallery, add images. And this brings up, should bring up the galleries I already have. So it has the gallery that I already have with it. And then right here, I can add a new one. And I have to give it a title.
I think I understand this part. My question is, do you put that gallery in a page?
Well, I have to sort of do it to show you. Can I walk you through?
Sure, go ahead.
So then I need to add images and I'm going to import them from my media library. And, you know, I'm just going to pick 3 at random. I don't know what the sizes are. And I'm going to say insert. So now it has it here. And there they are. And you asked about putting, if you could refer it to a different page or do a redirect, you would do that here. Nice,
so this one does do that.
And you could write the description. So I think if you wanted to make a cost or whatever, you could do that there. Let's just put, this is a inkjet print. just to see if it shows up. Okay, and at this point, oh, my menu.
I have a question for you, Anne.
Yeah?
In description, does this allow you to put a link?
It might, but I would think you'd have your redirect URL when you put it there.
I'm thinking in terms of e-commerce, so like a link to a PayPal button, for example. Anyway, go ahead.
I don't know.
I'm just thinking out loud. Okay.
So now that you've done all that, to have it actually show up on a page, you have to hit publish. So now it's an official new gallery that allows it to be used. If you don't hit that button, it doesn't exist anywhere out in reality. So now I have to come back here to pages and add a new page. And I have set a default in my menu that when I add a page, it automatically puts it in my menu. But I had to set that. And you have to, if you really want that to happen, otherwise, whenever you add a page, it doesn't really show up anywhere unless you add it to your menu. That makes sense? So this is gallery 3.
Well, the page is there. It's just that you don't know how to get to it unless it's
right. It doesn't create that link. But
yeah.
I have
I mean, you could do that in a different way, but yeah, okay.
In the menu bar thing, in the menu, that section, I clicked a little box that said automatically add a page when I add it. So now if you go into the paragraph block, and in here, and it's putting me behind the Zoom window, so I have to go here. Can you see that here's where the photo gallery shows up?
Yeah, we see that.
And then you keep ending up behind. Some of these buttons keep, now it lets me, and you can see here of the ones that are paid and the ones that are free. This one's free. And then here I can pick the gallery that I just created. And down here is an insert into post button. I click that. So now it just created that in that menu bar. I could add text and stuff. And again, it's okay. So now I have to publish it. And you have to click it twice to actually publish it. And then I can view the page. And there it is, it shows up. And here it is. And I don't know where it hid that, the stuff that I added, the description. So maybe you have to add the description someplace else.
That was perfect, thank you.
Let me go back and show you something else too. And so I'm going to go back to the dashboard.
It looks like there's an edit button down below the gallery. Is that?
Yeah, but that's to edit the page, to re-edit the page. I could add, I guess I'd have to edit myself. So let me go back to my gallery groups. Just to show you something in that. And in this one, here's the user guide. And this button right here, how to use, and it walks you through stuff.
There you go. Oh, there's the code thing. Yeah.
And it, you know, it didn't have me paste a text that this complicated code thing. You could see it was really easy to use.
That's
nice
wonderful. Thank you.
But it did have, it has like 2 places where you can find some information, which I found really helpful. Do you want me to stop sharing or?
Yeah, you can stop sharing. I realize it's now after 4. This has been great, but I actually didn't get to what I wanted to get to today, which is permissions and users. I think, unfortunately, normally I would just keep going, but I can't keep going today. But on Monday, we're going to do users and groups and permissions and some things related to user permissions. But I thought, but this was good because, you know, a little more grounding in some plugin use is always good. So I think what I'm going to have to do is do a minimum of 3 sessions a week. I'll probably do more than that because I'm going to throw in some just general question and answer sessions, which is sorry, that's kind of what this became today. But I only had an hour today. So if you haven't already done exercise 2, I think many of you, most of you in this group have, but if you haven't already done exercise 2, please do that and make sure your site is published. And we'll cover exercise 3 on Monday, which is the user permissions. But unfortunately, I have to stop right now. So
Well,
let me ask for a couple of final questions.
How could we ask for a pass or no pass rather than a letter grade?
You can do that yourself. Oh, let's see.
You have to go into e-forms.
Yeah, it's called self-service e-form.
Okay.
All the deadlines for this stuff have been extended. So I'm not sure what the new deadline is, but it's not yet, but it's probably
April
coming up.
30th.
It's
Which
when,
is
April
really
30th?
soon, which is next week.
Yeah, there's been a flurry of email from the district to all the teachers just in the last few days on this. My dean sent me pages and pages on what's going on with the changes. And Sue Gotchis from
I have to
Student Service
go.
sent out some stuff. Oh, okay, bye, Rebecca. So I'll finish this discussion and then we'll stop. So I've actually been preparing an email. Basically, the deans have asked us to mail out the stuff to our students. It's funny because Beth just said, "Can you mail this out to all the DM1 and DM8 students?" I'm like, yeah. So anyway, the deadlines have changed. They've made it easier. They don't want to penalize people. There's even they're even saying that if you I have to go through all the emails from my dean. There's they've been looser on the withdraw deadlines and how you can retake a class if you want to, because everything's in such an uproar right now in all the classes. So you'll look for an email the next couple of days on all this stuff. In addition, there's a Vitea survey link I'm going to send out. How many of you have already done Vitea surveys in any other classes this semester? Anybody? No? Okay. You'll be getting, maybe in some of the other classes, but definitely in this one, a link to a survey that is something that we get funding for. So they're trying to make sure everybody does the survey. Unfortunately, the survey itself is flawed, where it has the DM course numbers don't match up with the names of the courses. Like it'll have DM56 and the digital graphics or something. It's like, no, DM56 is WordPress. So remember that this will be explained in the email, but don't worry about the mistakes in the survey. We can't change that. I can't change that. But just use the course numbers when you fill out the online survey for the Vitea. But all these deadlines and policies have changed literally this week. So I will send out that information to you via email and look for that. But the pass no pass deadline, I think, Anne, you said it's gone to at least the 30th of April.
Yeah, that was from the email I got yesterday from both of my classes.
Okay, yeah. So it sounds like April 30 is the new deadline for that. So we're a week away from that. So I'll get that out in the next couple of days.
And in all the stuff, you have to go into e-forms in whether you're repeating or doing you can't do the repeat until you actually enroll next fall. But
right.
In all of it, there's a Coben option that you can pick, and you just pick that.
Right. So what they've essentially done is made it easy for students to do it themselves. Well, easy in quotes. If you haven't done it before, it's not easy. That is that. There used to be flexibility for the instructors. Those of you who have been Cabrillo students in the past, maybe let's just say that maybe you were doing really poorly in a course up until the end and you missed the deadline to change to pass, no pass. It was no great secret that the instructors could be a little lenient on that. But now they've taken it out of the hands of the instructors and given it to the students. So you do a lot of this stuff now through your own control panel, through your self-service and web advisor. And so, but at the same time, the instructors don't have flexibility to change these things. So more of the onus is on you guys to do these things. And so I will alert you to those new deadlines with the email. Any other questions before
Will
we?
you answer will you get on the help forum and answer questions if we need?
Yeah, and I haven't been on the help forum
follow-up?
lately, but now I'll get on that. Yep.
Okay.
I'm also planning on having at least 3 of these sessions a week in addition to being available at other times for questions. So I think that it'll be a little easier. I don't want to do a once a week. I think 3 times a week would be a little easier to get everybody caught up at this point. So,
So we can have some one-on-one problem solving?
yes.
Good.
Yeah, and so are there specific, let me ask you guys while you're here, everybody's got such different schedules. Do you have a preference between day and evening for something like this? Any preference?
Well,
No, I'm fine.
Day.
I have other things that I have to be at, like I'm taking other classes and then I work, but the times you picked didn't interfere with any of that.
Oh, good. Okay.
The times you picked were fine for me.
Yeah, day is great.
Times are fine too.
Yay.
Okay.
Yay.
Times work
Good.
for me too.
Okay. Excellent. So we'll have a minimum of 3 sessions a week and probably more, but the 3 are going to be the Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay.
And I'm going to do a few other little video things for some specific stuff. Working on those.
I'm still working all afternoons at the CTC, but that didn't interfere.
Well, at least you have work. Many people don't
Yeah.
right now.
So if people need help, I mean, we're lots of times not doing anything. So it was like nice that Debbie came in and we spent a lot of time just putting 2 heads together and troubleshooting.
Well, that's great. Anne, can you post in the chat window information that might be helpful for students to take advantage of the CTC help?
I think I did in response to Debbie's question, because she said, could I help? And I posted the days that I was working.
Oh, I don't see it in the chat window. Okay.
No, it was in the forum.
Oh, in the help form. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
She had asked, was I available for help? And I put that I worked Mondays and Tuesday afternoons, that she could come
Right.
in.
Cool.
And she did.
Okay then. Okay, I do have to go now. So we'll pick up on Monday. And in the meantime, make sure you can do your exercise 2 and publish your site, and we'll pick it up from there on Monday. Okay.
Hey, John. Have a great
Bye,
weekend,
thanks.
everybody.
Be safe.
Bye.
Practice
Thank you.
social safety and all that stuff.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
See you Monday.